This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is exercise addiction. And in this episode, we're going to talk about 7 signs that your relationship with exercise might need your attention and some healing, why this is more important than you think. And then, of course, I'm going to give you steps to start rebuilding a healthy relationship with exercise so that you can do it from a place of joy and nourishment, not from a place of fear, guilt, or anxiety. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Live Unrestricted podcast, a show where you'll learn how to heal your relationship with food and your body so that you can focus your time and energy on more important things like your personal growth. I'm your host, Sabrina Magna, food freedom coach, and my mission is to help make your life happier and healthier without stress, overwhelm, or guilt about food. If you love the show, please do go out and share it. And if you're looking for support with your relationship with food, details about my programs are in the show notes. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now let's jump in. Welcome back, my friend. I'm just so grateful that you're here. And I want to celebrate with you a really incredible milestone that we hit on the podcast last week, which is that we have now surpassed 100,000 downloads on the podcast. Oh man, this is so exciting for me because when I started this nearly 3 years ago, I didn't know how this was going to go. I knew that I wanted to start a podcast because it kept coming back up in my mind over and over and over again, no matter how much I would try to push it down and I'd be like, no, now's not the right time, or it's going to be a lot of work. It just kept coming back up intuitively. So I remember my coach eventually being like, what is one thing in your business right now that you just want to do because you want to do it? And it just kept coming back. I want to start a podcast. And I am so grateful for Sabrina from 3 years ago who followed her heart, because this has been just one of the things in my life, in my work, that brings me so much joy. I love doing it. I love prepping the episodes. I love answering your questions. I love talking and no one being able to stop me. It's just, I love it so much. And I love that it's helping you. So thank you for listening. And let's just get it in the ears of more people. So if there are women in your life, and chances are, because unfortunately, so many women struggle with their relationship with food or body image, or like in this episode, what we're going to talk about, the relationship with exercise isn't the healthiest, then they could use this podcast. So send it to them, share it with them. Let's just get in the ears of more people. So a few life updates before we get into today's topic. I am still sick. Yes, I feel like I have been perpetually sick and not breathing through my nose for the past 2.5 weeks. So I will also sound super nasally in this episode, but I won't let that stop me. Number 2 is, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I started releasing some bonus episodes on Mondays. So I had just so many incredible guest interviews that I wanted to share with you. And it got to a point where I had so much to share. It was overflowing. So I decided to just give you some bonus episodes. So you're going to see right now we are starting with 2 bonus episodes a month. So every second week, you're going to see a bonus episode with an incredible guest on Mondays. So stay tuned for that. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast or you follow the podcast. I don't know what it's like on podcast platforms, but subscribe or follow so that you always have access to the new episodes. And our guests are amazing. I always vet my guests. I always make sure that the conversations we have are just so valuable and powerful for you. So keep listening. Thank you for being here. And let's get into today's topic because I have so much for you. We are talking about exercise addiction, and more specifically, when you are starting to feel like your relationship with exercise is interfering with your life. It's not contributing to your mental health. It's actually negatively impacting your mental health. And you know that you don't want to have this like obsessive compulsive relationship with it. So we're going to talk about why it matters. And it's really important because I know that when it comes to movement and exercise, it's great for you. Like there's no denying it that moving your body, exercising, working out is so positive for your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health. But just like anything, when it's taken to the extreme, it can cause a lot of harm, not just on your physical body, but on your mental health, on your relationships, on every aspect of your life. We're going to talk about 7 signs for you to recognize, is my relationship with exercise unhealthy? And then 3 steps to start rebuilding one that is flexible and compassionate and gentle and rooted in love. And before we get into that, I want to offer a really helpful resource for you because so much of this is tied to our body image and how we feel about our bodies, how we relate to our bodies, how we try to control our bodies through exercise and earning our food and making up for eating. So I have a body image guide. So it's going to teach you habits and things that you can implement into your life to start building a more loving and collaborative relationship with your body. So to have access to this guide, it's free. You know it. You go to sabrinamagnon.com/body respect guide, all in one word. But you can also find that in the show notes because I'm going to drop that URL for you so that it's easy to find. But that's sabrinamagnon.com/body respect guide, all in one word, to have access to this for free. All right, my loves, let's get into today's topic. I wanted to do this episode because, as you know, if you listen to the podcast, I injured my back. My rib got popped out of place 6 weeks ago. And it really shook me. It was some of the worst pain I've ever felt. I could barely breathe without pain and barely move without pain. And I could not work out properly in the way that I want, in a way that feels good for 6 weeks. And actually, last weekend was my first workout class back. So my last workout class before I went on this 6-week break was a spin class. It was horrible. I was in so much pain. I was basically crying by the end of it. And then it was my return to my spin class 6 weeks later. And it felt so good to be back, to be able to move my body again in the way that I want to, in the intensity that I want to. And I notice now that I'm out of it and my back is back to normal, how well I handled this break from exercise and this inability to move my body in the way that I want to, and this general injury as a whole. Because in the past, I had a horrible, a toxic relationship with exercise, especially in university. When I think of exercise addiction, I get like flashbacks. I get these mental images of me going so hard at the gym for hours, not being able to take a day off of exercise, feeling guilty if I had to, feeling so much anxiety around how many calories I had burned and what I had eaten and how it balances out. And I would run half marathons because it was a thing that burned the most calories. I mean, I had such an unhealthy relationship with exercise. And had this happened years ago when I was going through that, and I had to take 6 weeks where I had to modify the way I moved my body, I think I would have been like riddled with anxiety. I would have probably had this like very all or nothing mentality that, okay, well, now I can't work out. So I'm just going to do nothing and I'm just going to eat everything and I'm going to gain a bunch of weight. And it would have been bad. It would have been really bad. But now things were so different. There wasn't this all or nothing mentality. There wasn't any anxiety. There wasn't this like huge amount of weight gain. And my life didn't really change that much. And I know that for anyone who struggles with their relationship with exercise, this can feel really out of reach. And I want to teach you how you can get there because it's possible. I mean, if this girl behind this mic right now, who does have a lot of anxiety and some control issues, was able to do it, you can do it too. So let's talk about 7 signs that your relationship with exercise may need some healing and some attention. Number 1 is that exercise feels like you have to do it, not like it's a choice. So when it starts to feel like it's something that is a rule that you are almost compelled to do in a very unhealthy way, and you might feel intense guilt, anxiety, or even moodiness if you miss a workout, even if it's for legitimate reasons, like you have an event or you're sick or you're traveling or you are deeply needing rest. So you feel like you can't relax or enjoy your day unless you've quote unquote earned it through exercise. And rest feels wrong and unproductive and lazy instead of restorative. The second one is that you ignore your body's cues and you push through injury, illness, pain, exhaustion, burnout. This is definitely something that I used to do. I mean, the number 1 is also something that I used to do. But I remember in university, this like distinct time where I had the flu and I had the worst body aches and I felt so horrible. I mean, guys, the flu, it sucks. It feels so rough. And I remember being in bed and thinking about, okay, how am I going to get to the gym today? How am I going to burn calories today? And I ended up going to the school pool to swim laps because I was like, okay, maybe like at least I can still burn calories there, but it's not like lifting weights, which I physically could not do. And I felt horrible. And I forced myself to exercise through a flu. And so that's the second one, is where you ignore what your body is telling you and push through the pain or the injury or the illness. And I can't even tell you how many times I also pushed through injuries. I kept running when I had the worst shin splints. I remember once I was going out for a run and I had horrible shin splints, and I even had to call my mom to come pick me up because I could not walk anymore. I have countless stories like this. And as you can see, this is a problem because you're just injuring yourself and it's no longer loving to you, because exercise is supposed to be this act of love, an act of nourishment, an act of care for your body. But oftentimes we don't recognize when we've crossed the line and it's no longer loving and it's no longer doing something for us. We're working against our body. So sign number 3 is that you use exercise to quote unquote make up for or to earn your food. On Christmas morning, my family and I do this big Christmas brunch. And as you can imagine, there's all sorts of things: pastries, pancakes, maple syrup, of course, because I'm Canadian. And what I used to do is I would wake up before everyone else. I wouldn't let myself sleep in so that I could do an hour-long, incredibly intense workout and burn as many calories as possible so that I could eat my meal without feeling guilty. And so that I could basically overeat. Like, because I was so caught up in this restriction and then binge and overeat and earning, and it was such a mess in my head. So I would wake up early to earn my food. Or if I had a binge, then the next day I would go extra hard at the gym in order to burn it off. So that's number 3. If you can relate to that, then that's a sign that we want to work on this here. Sign number 4 is that you choose workouts based on calories burned instead of enjoyment. So you gravitate towards what is the most intense or quote unquote effective, not what actually feels good or something that you enjoy doing or supports your energy. For the longest time, I didn't do yoga or Pilates because I didn't see it as intense enough. It doesn't burn a lot of calories because you're not like raising your heart rate that much and moving at like a high pace. And so I just didn't do it because I didn't see it as quote unquote real exercise. And now I have so much sadness for that girl because I love yoga and I love Pilates, and it creates diversity in the way that I move my body. And I used to run half marathons and run long distances because it just burned the most calories. It's not necessarily something that I enjoyed. I didn't even know what I enjoyed because exercise was always just about how can I control my body? How can I feel a sense of control? How can I burn as many calories as possible? It wasn't about enjoyment and adding to my life. So that's the 4th one, is if you choose your workouts based on calories burned instead of enjoyment. Number 5 is that exercise feels like punishment, not self-care. So this is you if you are motivated by fear of gaining weight, fear of losing control, fear of falling off track, rather than by desire to feel grounded and strong and alive. I used to think that because I worked out every single day and I would brag to people about how I had never taken a rest day. Man, I look back on it now and I was like, that girl, I wish I could just give her a big hug. But I used to brag about that I never took a rest day. But the reason why I didn't take a rest day is because I was scared that if I took a rest day, I would enjoy it so much. It would feel so good to relax and restore my body that I wouldn't get back into it. And this goes back to that all or nothing mentality. I did not trust myself and I did not have the right reasons for working out, which was because I actually enjoyed it and I liked moving my body and I liked how it made me feel. No, everything was rooted with fear and like this fear of not being able to force myself to get back into it. So that's the 6th one, is if it's motivated by fear or punishment, not from true desire and self-care. Number 6 is that rest days trigger food anxiety. So on days where you don't move, you start overthinking every bite or restricting and eating less to balance things out. So things are all about like this math equation, this like checks and balances of, okay, if I burn this many calories, I can eat this many calories. If I don't burn those 400 calories while working out, I have to cut those 400 calories. And it's all this like mental math equation. And number 7 is that exercise is getting in the way of your life and your relationships. I used to miss social events that were on Friday nights because I needed to be at the gym at 6 a.m. the next morning. I could not be flexible. I could not move things around. It was very much like, I need to do this. And if you interfere with it, I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be moody. I'm going to be anxious. And this would interfere with so many things because it's really hard to travel and be flexible when you have this exercise anxiety. You might need to wake up super early or change your plans. It can interfere with your romantic relationships because it's like, why can't you just be more flexible, or why can't you just miss a workout? And it's not even that you necessarily like really want to work out and you can be flexible around it. It's like, I need to work out. And so it can really interfere with your relationships, and your partners might not understand what's going on internally and what's fueling it. And so then there's a lack of communication and understanding, and you don't feel like you can be fully open with them, and you don't feel like they understand you. And it's a lot. So that's the last piece. Is exercise is supposed to add to your life. It's not supposed to take away from it. And so if it's getting in the way of your life, if it's interfering with your relationships, then that is the seventh sign that your relationship with exercise might need some healing and some attention. And I know what can go through the mind of someone who is in that, which is that maybe it's not that important, or maybe it's not causing that much harm, or we make these excuses or reasons as to why we push it down the road and, oh, I'll take care of that later. I'll focus on that later. But it's actually really important because there are many ways in which this unhealthy relationship with exercise is unconsciously affecting you, affecting your relationship with your body, with food, and your overall quality of life. So the first way is that it gets you further, not closer, to a loving, collaborative, and trusting relationship with your body. Because think of it this way. Imagine that you had a kid. Some of you do have kids, so you can really vividly imagine this. And they are exhausted. Maybe they've just been like running around. You are making them go on this like track and field and just run and run and run and run. And they're not allowed to take a break. And they're like, Mom, I'm so tired. My legs hurt. I feel dizzy. I don't feel good. And you were like, just keep going. Well, first of all, I know you're an amazing mother, so I know that you would never do that. But why wouldn't you do that? Because you understand that there are limits at which you do not want to push above. There are limits at which it's no longer good for you, good for your kid. And now it's causing more harm. And when you are not listening to the limits of your own body, when you are not listening to the signals from your own body, well, first of all, those signals are going to dull out in the same way that hunger and fullness cues can dull out and fade away. It creates that disconnection from the signals of your body. It makes it harder to trust and listen to your body, but it also makes it hard for your body to trust you. There is this lack of trust between you and your body and you of, okay, when I send her these signals, when I'm tired, when I need rest, I can trust that she is going to give me that rest. I can trust that she is going to listen and do what I need right now. And so if you're someone who feels like, I don't have a good relationship with my body, I don't trust my body, then that is just further going to get perpetuated when you are pushing through the injuries and the burnout and the exhaustion and not giving the rest that it needs. Like I said before, I used to think it was a flex that I didn't rest, and I had this like very weird relationship with laziness. And now I think it's a flex on how much I listen to my body, on how much I'm capable of knowing when I've had enough or when I need to take a day off and just go for a walk. So that's really important if you want to have this lasting, long-term, balanced health, physically, mentally, and emotionally. You need to have this collaborative and trusting relationship with your body. It's also important to pay attention to because it keeps you stuck in the same control cycle as dieting and as restriction, but just in a different costume, wearing a different mask. Because everything that we do, especially when it becomes something that you can't stop or that feels really inflexible or compulsive or driven by anxiety, it's doing something for you, right? Like we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. So it's being used, exercise is now being used as a way to feel a sense of control. And as long as your internal sense of control is not actually internal, but it's dependent on something outside of you, then what's going to happen when you have a really bad injury or a really bad sickness, and I'm hoping that never happens to you, but if it does, and you don't have this internal sense of safety and self-trust and groundedness, you may experience a lot of anxiety because this need for control is going to need to go somewhere and it's not going to have that outlet anymore. And so it's so important to be able to cultivate an inner sense of safety that is not dependent on a relationship or exercise or food restriction or dieting or things that can be fleeting or can be taken away from you. And that's why I was really just so proud of how I handled going 6 weeks without being able to exercise in the way that I wanted to, because I didn't feel out of control at all. I didn't move this need for control around exercise towards food. Like the fact that I could no longer exercise did not affect my eating habits at all. I did not restrict. I did not change the way that I was eating or try to eat quote unquote clean. Everything just stayed the same because I have that internal sense of trust and safety and knowing what feels good for me and how to take care of myself. Having an unhealthy relationship with exercise will also fuel guilt and anxiety. Exercise should lower your stress, not create more of it. And I don't have to go into all of the ways that stress negatively impacts your body, your habits, your mental health. But when rest feels quote unquote bad or missing a workout makes you spiral, your nervous system never actually gets to regulate. Your nervous system always stays on high alert. I remember I used to not know what a regulated nervous system felt like. To be fair, at the time, I didn't even know anything about my nervous system, but I look back on it and my heart rate was constantly elevated and I could not rest and I could not just give my body what it needed in order to repair and restore and heal and grow. And in the same way, it drains your energy and your hormones. Over-exercising or under-recovering, it spikes your cortisol, disrupts your sleep, and affects your hunger hormones, which can make food cravings, fatigue, and mood swings worse. And finally, having this compulsive relationship with exercise keeps your self-worth, your sense of success, tied to your appearance or your performance, or again, just something outside of you. And this goes back to safety. If your self-worth is dependent on something that can be taken away or could need to be paused because of injury or illness or travel, your sense of self-worth then is incredibly unstable and it's reliant on something outside of you. And that's not true self-worth. And if there's anything that I want from you and that I hope that I've been teaching you, is that you are inherently worthy. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't have to earn that worthiness. You have it within you, but you need to cultivate that. You need to work on finding that within you without needing something outside of you to validate that. So ultimately, I hope that this is helping you see why this is not just something that you want to kick down the road. And I know that it is really enticing and appealing to do that because the things that we use to feel a sense of control and groundedness, they feel like a safety blanket. They're doing something for us and we don't want to let them go. But it's like a pain reward analysis that you have to do right now of how is it interfering with your life and creating these negative impacts and consequences? And how is it going to look like 10 years from now or 20 years from now? Because that was a big thing for me. I feel a lot of fear around things that I am dependent on. Like that triggers a lot for me of feeling like I have to depend on something to be well. And I even experienced that a couple of years ago where I had realized that I hadn't gone a day without drinking coffee in over 8 years. And that blew my mind because I don't like being dependent on things, but I was dependent on coffee. If I did not have a coffee before 9 a.m., I had a migraine and I could not concentrate and it was awful. And so I went a summer of weaning myself off of caffeine. And it was tough. It was so hard, you guys. I don't know if anyone here has done it. I was shocked at how hard it was because it was this feeling of I have this horrible migraine. I can't concentrate. I want to feel better. I've taken the Advil and nothing will make me feel better other than the very thing I'm trying to avoid, which is the coffee. And after that summer off of caffeine, I noticed that I didn't feel any different, that it wasn't negatively interfering with my life to drink coffee every day. So I went back to it. But I wanted to see if I could be off of it and still be well. And that's really a huge way that I approach my life, is not feeling like I need to depend on something to be well and not feeling like there's inflexibility in my life that would interfere with travel or social events or just being able to live my life at its fullest. So what do you do if you can relate to the signs of an unhealthy relationship with exercise and you are very conscious of how it's negatively impacting your life and you want to have more ease? You want to be flexible. You want to be able to take a rest day without feeling anxiety and guilt. You want all those things. What can you do about it? So I'm going to walk you through 3 steps, 3 things that you can do. The first one, very simple. Simple, not easy, but simple. Decide that you want to do something about it. You have to make the decision that you are going to progressively start working on it. For years, I had a compulsive relationship with work. I would work at night, I would work on weekends, and if I wasn't working, I felt anxiety. And for a long time, I knew I didn't like working this way. I knew that it wasn't the healthiest, but it also wasn't bad enough that I wanted to change it. It was almost like it was doing more for me in terms of feeling a sense of achievement and control that I hadn't made the decision to do anything about it. And then after my millionth burnout, I was at my rope's end. I was at rock bottom. It was very clear to me that I couldn't keep working this way and that it wasn't sustainable and that it was very much affecting me in a negative way. And I made a decision to do something about it. And so the first step is to make an energetic decision. And you'll know that you feel it when you have really committed to it because you sense a shift. In the same way, I like to compare it to, when you're dating someone and you are considering breaking up with them, but you haven't really made the decision. And then you make the decision and it's like, oh my God, everything shifts and you need to do it right away. Or when you're at a job that you are considering leaving, maybe you're unhappy, and then you are going back and forth, and then finally you make the energetic decision to say, I am going to get a new job. I am moving my energy and I am creating a change. And then it feels like every day at work, you cannot wait to quit. That's what I mean by making an energetic decision. And a lot of you, whether it comes to exercise or your relationship with food, are teetering on the fence. And being on the fence hurts. Just imagine physically being on a fence. It hurts. I can just feel it in my body just thinking about it. And when you're on the fence, you haven't made that decision yet. You haven't fully jumped, taken the leap, gone to the other side. And that's why you feel like you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And it's very frustrating and it's really hard to make change that way. So you have to make that energetic decision to go all in and to create a change. So that's what I did. When I decided to heal my relationship with work, it's a work in progress, but it's so much better than it was years ago. I made that energetic decision. And I don't want you to have to get to rock bottom and like this horrible situation where you are forced to change from a place of deep pain and because your back is against the wall. It is much easier to change from a place of expansiveness and from a place of desire rather than from a place of pressure. Number 2 is to look at your fears. What is driving this compulsive relationship with exercise? What are you afraid is going to happen if you, for example, take a rest day or whatever your specific situation is? So maybe you're someone who is afraid to cut your workout in half, to not do it for an hour, but to do it for 30 minutes, or to take a rest day, or to take 2 rest days, or to whatever it might be for you. You know what it is. I know that you know what that is for you, what peeling it back would look like for you. Look at your fears. What are you afraid is going to happen? I really recommend flushing it out because it's when you look at your fears and you bring it to your conscious awareness that then you get to poke holes in it. You get to challenge them. You get to see them for what it is. So I had this fear. I'll use the analogy of my relationship with work so that you can understand and we can make this concrete for you. I had this fear that if I, for example, took a full week off of work to travel or for a conference or whatever it might be, that my entire business would fall apart. Like truly, when I did this exercise and would look at my fears, it was that all of my clients would get mad at me and I would lose all of my followers. Like it was so insane and so intense and so unrealistic. Like, of course, that's not going to happen. But when those fears are living within you, you can't see how ridiculous they are. So you might do this and notice, I'm scared if I take a rest day, I'm going to gain 10 pounds in one day. And for some of you, this might not sound crazy. Like that was one of my fears, that if I don't work out for a day, I'm going to gain weight. And again, like I said before, I'm never going to work out again. Like I'm just going to stop working out and start eating everything in sight and not have the motivation to go back. So the second thing that you want to do is to look at the fears that are driving this compulsion. And then the third thing is to take baby steps while regulating your nervous system and giving yourself proof that it is safe to take those little steps. One of the reasons why it was relatively easy to have a completely different way of moving my body for 6 weeks is because I had enough proof that I can trust myself. I had enough proof that by taking a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks off from lifting weights or doing cardio and just going for walks instead, I would be fine. I wouldn't gain 20 pounds. I wouldn't binge all day long. I had enough proof from that because I've traveled where I haven't worked out for a week and I've had a flexible relationship with exercise for years now. And so it was no big deal. And your nervous system learns through experience. So if you haven't given your nervous system safe experiences of you dialing it back and showing yourself that you're safe and showing yourself that your worst fears won't come true, then it's still going to be terrified to take those baby steps. So whatever those baby steps look like, it might be taking one rest day, or it might be instead of lifting weights, you go for a walk that day. You get to dictate and decide what that baby step is for you, but you don't want to just jump into the deep end and be like, I'm just not going to work out for an entire week because Sabrina told me so. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. So take baby steps and regulate your nervous system and show yourself that it's safe and show yourself that your worst fears are not coming true while doing this. So that's how you can start rebuilding a healthy relationship with exercise and overcoming your exercise addiction. So I know that this episode was not for all of you because some of you might have a very healthy relationship with exercise. And if that is the case, nothing makes me happier because I know how much it feels like exercise has a grip on you, like it has power over you when you are struggling with it. But for those of you who needed to hear this today, I really hope that this was helpful. And I hope you take what I said to heart and you implement it. And if this was helpful, if you are one of those people who needed to hear this, please send me a DM and let me know what came up for you and ask me any questions. Like my DMs are open. I always answer them. Sometimes I answer with a voice memo. So you can find me at Sabrina Magnan Health and send me a DM. Let me know what resonated with you. I love you so much. Remember that if you want my free body respect guide, you can go to sabrinamagnan.com/body respect guide. I'm also going to put that URL in the show notes. I will see you on the next episode. Thank you for being here. I love you. Hey, real quick before you go, if you're loving this podcast and you're thinking, Sabrina, I want more. I want to go deeper. I want a step-by-step process for healing my relationship with food. I've got a free workshop that literally walks you through it. It's a full breakdown of the exact method that I use to help my clients stop binging, heal emotional eating, and finally feel at peace with food in their bodies. It's totally free. So if you're ready to stop feeling obsessed and out of control with food, head to sabrinamagnan.com/training or find the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you found it valuable, I would love if you would share it with someone you know that could benefit. If you're loving the show, don't forget to subscribe over on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. I really love hearing feedback from you, so please leave a rating and review over on Apple to help us get in the ears of more people who need it the most. Finally, come hang out with me on Instagram at Sabrina Magnan Health for more educational content and get up close and personal with me. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode.